Do you like video games? I'm sure everyone who clicked on this video would say yes, but that's a question most people on Earth would probably say yes to. Yeah, I like video games. I play COD with my friends and Mario Kart is dope. Gaming is so much bigger now than it ever was, and I imagine it would be really hard to find someone you know who has never picked up a controller in their life. Okay, so most people probably like video games, but how many of you love video games? I think a majority of gamers would say yes, but that question has a little more nuance involved with it. I'm sure a lot of people have spent more than thousands of hours playing video games throughout their life. But just because you've played a lot of video games, that doesn't mean you're guaranteed to have any sort of deep connection to the medium. For some people, it will never be more than a simple hobby and a way to pass the time. But for other people, video games can be something to get lost in, a way to connect to a different world that you could never experience otherwise, or a way to meet interesting people through the eyes of someone else entirely. People who love video games generally have more appreciation for the medium and have a lot of respect for the talent required to create some of the most memorable video games of all time. But what if we go even further? I'm someone who can say I am addicted to video games. Video games are my passion, but also my obsession. What do I mean by that? I mean, I really do love video games with my heart, as corny as that sounds, and do believe they have the ability to connect with people like no other medium. But I'm obsessed with the individual experiences that each game can provide. Most people are content with putting a game down and never playing it again unless they really enjoyed it. Not me. For me to really put a game down, I need to feel like I've gotten everything out of it. And I also need to feel like there's nothing within the game's mechanics that I can't get anywhere else. That's not a bad thing, but it can lead to casting a net so wide that I often end up buying games I've already played just to maybe play at a higher frame rate or to go for a platinum trophy. That isn't that bad under certain circumstances. Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite game of all time, so obviously when the $50 PC port came out, I bought it so I could experience KH2 at an uncapped frame rate. And now with modding, it's definitely the best way to play the game. The problem is that I apply this same thought process to literally every video game, not just my favorites. I bought Judgment on PS5 one day because it was on sale. Shortly afterwards, they released an actual PS5 version with 60 FPS. Well, now I'm not gonna play the PS4 version, so I bought the PS5 version, and to this day, I probably have about 10 hours on Judgment. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is a decent game if you're a DBZ fan, and I got it on PC when it came out. Eventually the game got a free PS5 upgrade, so I bought it again when it was on sale on PSN so I could replay it and get the trophies. I did this a week or two before Resident Evil 4 Remake came out, and after I beat that, I still haven't gone back. I own Devil May Cry 5 on PC and PS5. Why? Because the special edition is exclusive to the PS5, so obviously I was gonna buy it again to play as Virgil, instead of just waiting for him to come to the PC version for $5. You could say these examples have nothing to do with being obsessed or addicted to video games and has everything to do with me having zero restraint and being bad with money. So let me ask you a question. How many video games do you own across all platforms? How many games do you have access to currently? Maybe some of you have too many to count, but some of you maybe not that many. For the people that have a lot, how important is it that you experience a game the way it was intended to be played, either through playing it on its native console and not an emulator, or by actually paying for it and not pirating it? Game mechanics can get old, but it can be hard for them to get stale, and since game mechanics are my favorite part about games, I like the idea of always being able to play any game at any time whenever I get the itch, regardless of how niche that game may be. And since I care about playing my games natively and don't like pirating, this means I currently own a PS5, a PS3, a Switch, a Wii, a 3DS, a PS Vita, and a gaming PC. The PS3, Wii, 3DS, and Vita are all modded, just so that if I can't get a specific game through legit means, I can always pirate it as a last resort. How many games do I own though, as in paid for and not pirated? Not counting free-to-play games, different versions of the same game, or random shovelware on Steam, I have a total of 361 games. That includes 214 Steam games, 19 Epic Store Launcher games, 91 digital PSN Store games including PS3 and PS Vita titles, 20 Switch eShop games, and lastly, I have 4 physical Switch games, 11 physical PS3 games, and 2 physical 3DS games. If I include all the pirated games that I have on mostly the Wii and 3DS, that number goes up by 100 to a total of 461 total games that I can play at any given moment. Some notable games would be every 3D Zelda, every 3D Tales of game including the Vita remakes, every mainline Resident Evil except for 0, including 5 on PC, PS4, and Switch. I have every Kingdom Hearts game and own the 1.5 plus 2.5 collection on PS4 and PC, as well as KH3 on PS4 and PC. I own every Souls game including Elden Ring, Sekiro, Bloodborne, and the Demon Souls remake. You can toss in Nioh 1, 2, and Strangers of Paradise as well. Every DMC game including 4 on PS4 and PC and 5 on PS5 and PC. Every Borderlands including Borderlands Enhanced and the pre-sequel. Every Metal Gear Solid including 4, which is still a PS3 exclusive. Every Sonic game including Sonic Rush, Advance 2 and 3, Fighters, Unleashed on PS3, and even Heroes on PS3, which was exclusive to the UK and Japan. I beat Forces, but I don't actually own it because it's a really bad game. Every Ultimate Ninja Storm game and every Pirate Warriors game, excluding one because that's really rare at this point. That's a lot of games, but just because you own a lot of video games doesn't mean you have an addiction. People have been playing games since the 90s, and I'm sure some people even watching this video probably own even more games than me, but don't necessarily have any sort of addiction. The reason why I use that word to describe myself is because of the constant need I have to find the next best thing when it comes to gaming. The next best action game, the next best JRPG, Western RPG, the best zombie game. This leads to me buying almost everything with a high Metacritic, and it also leads to me rebuying and replaying games on other platforms, just so I can get the full picture when it comes to any one particular game. Recent purchases I've made are the RE4 remake, Dead Island 2, and I pre-ordered Tears of the Kingdom with the Nintendo Online voucher, and used the other one to get Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, because that game only has great reviews. When I was figuring out how many games I owned for this video, I learned I had an extra Switch Online voucher just sitting on my account, so I used that to get Skyward Sword HD to finish the 3D Zelda collection. For most people, that would be enough when it comes to buying full-priced games for the year, but I know for a fact I'm also getting Final Fantasy XVI, Spider-Man 2, and Armored Core 6 at the very least, and considering I already bought Ragnarok, Sonic Frontiers, the Dead Space remake, and Crisis Core Reunion earlier in the year, that is a lot of games. But that's it. Let me know if you think I actually have an addiction, or am I just an average gamer? Either way, I need to go outside more.